My name is Ashley, but all of my friends call me Ash. And yeah, go ahead, make all the Pokemon jokes you want. I've heard them all. Apologies for the lengthy story, but at the time all this went down when I was 12. We lived in the upper Midwest in a small city that only had about 669 people, mostly retirees and older folk and the like. I've watched a lot of people come and go, some by moving out, and some by the Grim Reaper's cold hands, and of course the creepy neighbor that I had to deal with for the last 8 years. I don't even think the Grim Reaper would want to touch him with a 90-foot pole. My neighbor henceforth shall be known as Arthur, which is not his real name. Arthur was around 40. He had blonde hair with the most intense icy blue eyes that I'd ever seen in my life. It was like someone had carved chunks of ice right into his eyeballs and then put them into him. If it wasn't for the fact that he was mega weird and for what he did, honestly, he'd be like someone's really hot dad that you hear about in those semi-cringe covers of the fan parody of Stacy's mom called Stacy's Dad. He was married and he had 3 kids, one of whom I was friends with, and we'll call her Jackie. So one day Jackie and I were at her house playing Mario Kart, and Arthur walks into the living room and he starts to yell at Jackie about having the volume up way too loud, while her brother Max was napping. He stops mid-yell when he then sees me turning the volume down. I look at him and I then say, "Sorry sir, we'll try and keep it down. Sorry again for that." He looks me up and down and I kind of just blush since I'm wearing my favorite tank top that I made myself and jean shorts. He then turns and says to me, "You like WWE?" I said that I did, and he asked me which wrestler is my favorite. I told him that it was AJ Styles, since I made my tank top from a duplicate short sleeve shirt that I'd gotten for Christmas. He smiles, and he then says, "You know, maybe you can stay the night. It is a Friday night after all, and he may be wrestling in a match tonight on SmackDown. We can watch it together." I politely declined, and I said I had to go. Jackie gave me a weird look, but I said my goodbyes and headed for the door. Suddenly, I then heard Arthur say behind me, "Don't I get a goodbye?" I just exited and ran all the way to my house, which was 2 streets down. About a week went by, and the next Friday after school, I had found a strange package on our porch stoop, and it had my name on it. It didn't look like the Amazon boxes my mom would get from time to time. No, it was just an ordinary cardboard mailer box with my name on it. It had my name in Sharpie and no return address or any indication of who sent it. I'd showed it to my mom when she got home from work, and she told me to open it to see what it had inside. I did, and inside was an autographed 8x10 picture of AJ Styles and another shirt. This was the black and red Phenomenal Forever shirt like the one he wore while on Monday Night Raw while competing for the USA title. It was similar to the blue one and my custom tank top. I was floored by this. I then noticed a folded piece of printed paper with my name on it. I then opened it, and it read, "I hope you like the gift, sweetie. Hopefully we can meet sometime," and a little heart written in red pen. I was confused and a little bit creeped out. I put the box with the shirt in my closet, and I'd put the note in a file folder, which I named Weird Letters from Stalker. I chuckled at my own childish title for the folder, but little did I know, I was right about that title. About 3 days later, I saw yet another package. I opened it, and I saw another picture, but this one had been created in Photoshop. It was a picture of me in my blue Phenomenal Forever tank top and jean shorts with AJ holding me to his side, and we were smiling for the camera that was supposedly taking the picture. The note this time then said, "I can get you a meeting with AJ if you want. I want to make all your dreams come true, sweetie. But I will soon." I shuddered. I had placed this note with the first one, as well as the picture that was placed in the box in my closet. The letters had stopped for a little while, and I thought it was over. But about a month later, I received a letter and another package from my stalker. The package this time was one of those flat letter envelopes, and inside was another picture of me and AJ. But this one has our heads photoshopped on a picture of a man and woman having explicit sex, and a pair of boxer briefs with white stains on them. No prizes for anyone who guesses what the white stains are. I looked at the note. What it said made me want to puke, and my blood run cold. "Why don't you like my gift, sweetie? I'm going to make you mine. I'm coming for you, and you can't do anything about it." I think I actually screamed. I was home alone, and my parents had gone to see friends in the next town over and celebrate the wife of the friend's birthday. I told them I would be okay, but I wasn't. I heard someone knocking at the door, and when I went to check who it was, lo and behold, it was Arthur. He had actually managed to then break into my house. In a panic, I dialed 911, letting them know I had very little time and explained what was going on as best as I could, and that they needed to send the police out immediately. I then ran to my room and I locked the door, trying to buy some time until the police showed up. Arthur eventually made it to my room, however. Once he broke in, it was like I was in a scene of my very own horror movie. He looked like one of those axe murderers that enter a house and do unspeakable things to the plucky heroine before she's maimed or killed. He then grabbed me and dragged me, kicking and screaming, by my hair. He told me how he had many plans with me, things that I would never consent to. But just as he was about to have his way with me, a miracle happened. I heard the sirens coming down my street. The police had arrived. Shortly after, I heard them busting inside the house and shouting, "Police! Is anyone here?" I screamed for help, letting them know that we're upstairs and he's trying to rape me, all while Arthur is trying to cover my mouth with his hands as I do so. The police officers came charging in, and Arthur tried to escape out of my bedroom window. But he didn't get near it enough before he was tackled, then restrained and taken away. My parents rushed home immediately, and they were told everything when they got there. Arthur was charged with attempted sexual assault on a minor, as well as many other things that I can't really remember. After a long drawn-out trial, he was eventually sentenced to prison. My friend Jackie claimed that she had no idea that her dad was such a sick fuck, but just a week after the events of that night, she stopped talking to me entirely, blaming me for the fact that she lost her dad. She also claimed that everything that happened to me was all lies, and that her dad would never do those things. I didn't even care. The way she spoke to me and blamed me for her creepy stalker dad? Really? With a friend like that, who needs an enemy? I'm doing a little better now. I've been to counseling, and I've slowly been getting over the nightmares and the fear of being home alone. Moving to the southeastern part of the US has helped out a lot. I still love the WWE and AJ Styles, but I still get chills thinking about what could have happened to me because of my creepy, fucked up, and revolting neighbor. Here's some information to put my story in place. When this happened, I was 28 years old. I had moved into a duplex apartment on the second floor. The apartment was in a quiet neighborhood in Quebec City, Canada. The old lady on the first floor was really nice. She was 87 years old, and her children, who were the landlords, came each day to check on her, as well as take care of the property, watering the plants, flowers, mowing the lawn, etc. I was feeling pretty safe in this area as a woman. Quebec City is a really safe place in general, but some bad things have happened here just like anywhere else. So in the first week of my moving there, I had met my new neighbor. Let's call him Joe. Joe seemed to be around 50 years old. He was a little bit overweight, and he then approached me while I was cleaning my car. Our parking lots were literally like right next to each other, separated by tiny bushes. The conversation then went like this. "Hey, I'm Joe. You just moved in?" I replied back with, "Oh, hi, yeah, I'm Catherine. How are you?" And the discussion continued like normal, until he then said, "So you're a judge?" I didn't understand the question at first, but then I remembered that I had talked with the other neighbor, and I told him I was a paralegal. So I then explained it to him, and he left. It was at this moment that I realized that this neighborhood was pretty chatty. A couple of weeks go by, and Joe seems to always be outside whenever I arrive in my car. Every time I park and get out of my car, he's there. I think he must have felt pretty lonely and just wanted to talk or something. But for me, I thought it was really weird that every time I got to my apartment at 9 p.m., Joe's always there outside in his parking lot. He would always say hi to me, as if he just always wanted to check on me. One time he asked me, "Hey, do you want to come see my tomato plants? You have tomatoes too, I think. We can drink a glass of wine. What do you prefer, red or white?" He gave me such weird vibes, and I didn't want to go. I was feeling so uncomfortable, and I didn't know what to say. I told him red, and I then ran to my door, thinking that he would go away at this point. One time I was sleeping, and I had heard a knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I didn't want to go see who it was. But afterwards, I thought that maybe it could be the landlord, so I got up to see who it was. It was Joe. He then said to me, "The window of your car is open, and it's raining." I told him thank you, even though I was still feeling uncomfortable. There was also this one time that really scared me. Joe was living at the second floor in the duplex apartment right next door. His tiny window would face my kitchen window, and unfortunately, I just didn't really have the time to install a curtain. So while I was doing my dishes, I turned to grab some glasses on the counter, and I could see that Joe was staring at me through his window. He wasn't moving at all, just staring at me. I had a damn panic attack. I actually went and hid in the living room. I managed to call one of my friends, and she came over and she helped me install a sheet for the night on the window. I didn't sleep at all during this night. After that, in the following weeks, I didn't really remember seeing Joe that much. Whenever we would see each other, he'd just say hi to me, and I was really relieved that that's all that happened. So let's skip forward a little. About a year passed, and it was now summer. I was leaving my apartment to go to the grocery store, and I met Joe while I was walking. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna be moving. I'm sorry I won't be here to protect you anymore." I responded back with, protect me from what?" "You know, the guys who live on the first floor. They're not murderers, but..." And he said nothing more than that. We said goodbye, and that was it. About a week later, I had arrived from work, and there was a paper bag in front of my door. I took it and opened it, and it was a little bottle of wine from Joe with a note on it. "I'm so glad that I got to know you. It's really sad that we never got to enjoy our glass of wine. Now you can. Take care." I threw the wine in the sink. So after all this time, I guess he had never once forgot about the wine. Nothing else really happened aside from that. I know this may not be that scary to a lot of you, but I just didn't reciprocate the same feelings that he did, and his behavior just really creeped me out. Wherever Joe is now, I hope he's happy, but I really don't want to see him again. I just want to live in peace without anyone bothering me or creeping me out. Stay safe out there, everyone. For years, I've been paranoid about changing near or around a window. I think it all leads back to the story that I'm about to tell you. For the record, I'm a female, and this happened to me 10 years ago when I was 13. My parents had divorced when I was 1, and my brother was 3, so we would visit my dad in his mobile home every weekend. It was the summer before I started 8th grade, and I was at my dad's house with my brother for the weekend. My dad had to take my stepmom to a doctor's appointment that was right down the street for a few hours. He had done this before because we had cell phones and we never really left the house because we didn't really have any friends over at my dad's. My brother is 2 years older than I am, so he was considered the responsible one. We had a routine that we would follow every time we visited my dad. Get up and sneak whatever breakfast we could before our stepmom got up, and then I'd watch a movie in my room and my brother would play the Xbox in his room, which was right next to mine. I had just finished up watching Live Free or Die Hard when I decided to get dressed and start my chores. The way that my room was set up, I had a rolled bunk bed pressed against the window so that my feet would be facing the window and my head would be near the door. The TV was right across from that, so there was only a little narrow area in the middle where I could walk or get dressed. My dog Chester was on the bottom bunk laying in what little sun came into my room. As I was finishing putting my t-shirt on, I noticed that Chester had sat up looking towards the window. He slowly moved towards it and then started to growl. Now, my dog wasn't really that intimidating and he really only barked whenever he was excited or when someone knocked on our door, but I had never heard him growl before, like ever. Immediately I was on alert, really unsure of what was going on. I got as close to the far wall as I could and then looked out the window. I didn't see anything and I tried to calm him down, but me getting closer to the window seemed to only get him even more protective. Right after I had walked away was when you get that really bad feeling you get when you just know you're being watched. As I turned, I saw a right hand come up to the glass on my window and then pause right before the left one joined it. I froze in place when finally a face appeared that I had recognized. It was my neighbor that was 5 houses down from us. He had always given me the creeps, and I guess my intuition was right. He was looking around my room when his eyes finally landed on me. He gave me this really eerie smile and he gestured for me to come to the window. I just shook my head and reached for the baseball bat that I had on my wall. My dog was going absolutely apeshit seeing this guy look at me, now snarling and lunging at the window. The guy tried to slide open my window, and that's when I yelled for my brother. I think that the man thought I was home alone because the horror that came across his face when my brother ran in then made him realize he couldn't do anything to me. He took off running down the street to his house while my brother and I shouted at him from the porch while my dog was fighting to try and get past us to chase him. My brother and I sat on the couch after that and talked about what happened. We pretty much both agreed that it would just be smarter to never tell our dad about it and that I was never to walk near his house. The only thing that I really regret from this incident was that our other neighbor that my stepmom was really close with was actually attacked by him a few months later. I had felt that because I didn't say anything that I'd actually allowed it to happen. Luckily she wasn't hurt, but when I told her about the man and what he did, she gave me a hug and she agreed that it wasn't something to tell my dad, but that she would handle it. I guess she did, because a year later he was then gone and I never saw him again after that. I only really told my dad's mom about the incident when she had moved into the house and I was already 21 years old and didn't stay the weekends anymore. I told her to never tell my dad because I just knew how he'd react. Well, that didn't happen, and later that night my dad ended up chewing me out for not telling him. I told him that if he knew what had happened, my weekend visits to him would have been in prison because he probably would have gone over to the man's house and killed him. He agreed, but he wanted me to tell the full story to him and my stepmom. Despite how long ago this was, I'm still really afraid I'll see him again. That he'll end up being a dot on a map near my house, or that I'll wake up with him peering through my window. Due to this event, it really turned me into a really paranoid person. Anytime there's a little sound near the window whenever I'm getting dressed, I kid you not, I'm always reaching for something to fight for my life. If it wasn't for my dog and the fact that I changed so fast, who really knows what the man would have tried to do to me or what he would have seen when he looked in my window. To everyone out there, please stay vigilant and always trust your gut.